All right, let's talk to our guy, Josh Kendall from The Athletic. He covers the Falcons. Josh, thanks for jumping on with us. We saw your mock draft, and I went, what? Who do you have the Falcons taking in your latest mock draft?
Well, lots of folks, for one thing. We went a little nuts with this one. We do several of these, and this was kind of my let's go a little nuts version. But what I went into it with was, let's figure out a way to trade down. Because a lot of people want to talk about trading down. Let's figure out a way to trade down. And if Falcons trade down, boy, I'd start looking at Texas running back Bijan Robinson.
Hey! That's what I'm talking about.
And again, mister, I saw your mock draft. You went down to 17. Just to see if I could do the same thing. I went down to 18, made a deal with the Lions. You went down to 17 and made a deal, I guess, with with Pittsburgh. But yeah, I mean, because if you're the fourth, here's the other thing though. If he's the fourth or third best athlete in this draft, couldn't you just take him at 8, or you say go get the value and gobble up those second and third round picks?
I just worry about taking a running back at 8. I worry about it financially as much as anything. So look at the contract that Drake London got at 8 last year. You're looking at about $24 million guaranteed money. If you go down to 17, you're looking at about $14 million of guaranteed money. It's one thing to have $24 million invested in a wide receiver. It's another thing to have it invested in a running back. It's just the way the math of the game works now. You can get, how much are the Falcons paying Caleb Huntley? And he's a pretty good back. He's not Bijan Robinson. Nobody said he is. But what percentage of Bijan Robinson is Caleb Huntley? 70%. So if you can get, 70, 80% of Bijan Robinson for minimum money, it's hard to then say, okay, I'm going to pay top 10 money to a running back. It just doesn't make a ton of sense financially. And this is a team and a regime that we've seen really try to, make the money work.
Yeah. Saquon goes, high in the draft of the Giants, and then you just saw this year they franchise tag him instead of giving him a long-term deal. So the financials are at play. And, again, you're trying to get value. It's Josh Kendall from The Athletic. Josh, here's something that I know you probably know, but I got to mention this because as people have said, oh, Dukes, you're crazy. Why would we draft a running back? And I don't care where you would get him. I want more playmakers on the field. And last year, 7 of our last 9 games, 7 of the last 9, we didn't score 20 points. We need more offensive star power.
Absolutely. Look at the Bengals. They've got 3 great wide receivers. Last year they had Hayden Hurst, who's a really good pass-catching wide receiver. Joe Mixon, we got another back. Their other back is I'm blanking on him. Tons of weapons. Look at the Bills. The Bills, lots of different weapons. The Eagles, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen is his own thing, kind of a 3-headed monster at running back. The trend in the current NFL is clear. The teams with a lot of offensive firepower and a lot of places to go with the ball are the teams that are playing late into the year.
And we said it also as Josh Kendall joins from The Athletic. Josh, as you're taking all the pressure, as we mentioned, off of Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder doesn't have to worry about. Maybe that's why Ryan Tannehill got his career resurrected up in Nashville, because you had a guy like Derrick Henry, who I'm not trying to compare Bijan,
1,000%, yeah.
Yeah, but Bijan is a stud. He is that kind of back.
Yeah, he's a guy that he's not a guy that you're just going to sort of punish people with like Derrick Henry. You're just going to grind people in the dirt. But he is a guy who you can feed a lot of carries, who I think complements Tyler Algier really well, who you can move into the slot. You can move him a lot of places. You can close your eyes pretty easily and picture Bijan Robinson in the offense we've seen from Arthur Smith the last 2 years, and it's really exciting. Yeah, there will be no point in this Falcons regime where they have enough offensive weapons, period. I don't care what point they get to. You have got to keep adding those guys in the modern NFL because you've got to score points, and the Falcons don't score enough of them.
Let's talk a little bit about what Terry Fontenot had to say, and I want to know your opinions on this. Mike and I, we've gone around and around on it, and it's not that we necessarily disagree. Mike has been adamant about Jalen Mayfield really not being impressive. I know he started some games in 21, and Fontenot said that he'll be ready to roll, and once we get started with OTAs, he can either play guard or tackle. And, again, we're talking about versatility. Where are you at on Jalen Mayfield as we look at this left guard situation for our Falcons?
I'm not considering him an option there based on what we've seen. Doesn't mean he couldn't be. He was legitimately injured last year and sort of fell out of the rotation, and he had not shown enough in 2021 where they made any real effort to get him back into the rotation in 2022. But I think this was a critical offseason for him. I think they probably sent Jalen Mayfield home thinking, all right, you got one more offseason to kind of get it together and show us something, and I don't think he gets another chance. So if we got to come out and flash in training camp, and his history has suggested that we shouldn't necessarily expect that, then I don't think he's in that left guard rotation. Maybe his depth's there if they don't add anybody else and start Matt Hennessy there. But I'm not looking at Jalen Mayfield as a guy that I'm thinking. I mean, he's not even a guy at this point I'm thinking is a guaranteed 53-man roster guy.
Right. And that's just why, I mean, like, I lobbied for the dude. I thought he'd be a nice piece out of Michigan, and it's a fail. It's just not there. Josh Kendall's from The Athletic, and he's with us here on the waitfor.com hotline. Do we need to go get a wide receiver? I mean, I know that it's kind of a meh wide receiver class, but you take a flyer like the third round or something. How are you addressing that?
Oh, I think you take a couple of flyers. I think Tyler Scott, the kid who played with Desmond Ritter at Cincinnati. You've seen him mock to Atlanta in a lot of places, including my most recent mock. He can stretch the field. They still need a guy who can stretch the field. And one of the things that makes Bijan Robinson so attractive to me, and maybe later on in the draft, even a Devon Achane, whose name we haven't heard as much lately, but I wouldn't forget about it, is that's a running back that you can put in the slot that's got some really significant speed. So you can use him in that role a little bit. I don't think you add Scotty Miller and think, okay, we've got slot taken care of. We don't need to do anything else.
Yeah, and we had Scotty on, great attitude, going to be a team guy, but I'm with you. That's kind of why when I look at this, and how do you view Mack Hollins, by the way?
That's a great question. Mack Hollins is a guy who, when he got a really good fit last year in Vegas, he was a really solid, a really, really good number 3 or a real solid number 2, and still is young enough that he can take another step in his career and fits really well in this offense because he's shown a real willingness and ability to run block, and he's shown a willingness to catch the ball over the middle of the field. So it's a really good fit. He's not ever, I don't think, going to be a number 1. And I think ideally the Falcons would love to think, all right, Mack Hollins is our number 3, and we feel really good about that.
I know that we've had all these different scenarios, and we've talked about Jalen Carter with you a few weeks back. And, again, a lot of folks now, it seems like I said earlier, the dust is settled, and people are now coming to the realization that you can work with the kid. He's a tremendous talent. Will he just be gone? We won't even have the opportunity. You think the Seahawks grab him or the Lions grab him, Jalen Carter?
You hear a lot of Seahawks talk. I mean, he is a Pete Carroll player. You could absolutely see it. A really physical, dominant type defensive lineman, and Pete is a guy who would, I think, believe that he could work with almost anybody. And I think in his career, he's shown he can work successfully with almost anybody. So I don't think there's any question that he could be gone at 5 or 6. My gut still tells me that if he's around at 8, that's not the direction the Falcons are going. But we've got 24 days. We don't know what conversations are going on behind the scenes with teams and Jalen Carter. I would love to. It would be fascinating. Carter says he's only working out, or Drew says Carter's only working out for top 10 teams. That would obviously include the Falcons. That's a bold strategy, but Drew Rosenhaus has made a pretty good career with bold strategies, or at least bold statements. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. You said it. Countdown's on, Josh. 24 days until we get to the draft, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, man, we always appreciate you stopping by and dropping knowledge. Go check his stuff out, guys. AJC covers, or should I say The Athletic, Josh Kendall covers the Falcons for The Athletic, and a great mock draft. I love it because, I like the pick.
And the fans are going to love it. That's the thing. I mean, we said it, the 16 Super Bowl, offense, and just a good enough defense. Granted, the defense wasn't good enough to win the Super Bowl, but it got us there.
Yeah, you got it. This team's got to score more points.
That's it. Josh, take care, man. Appreciate you.